Tonight's story is called My Best Friend Was an Assassin Sent to Kill Me, Part 1. Written by Dead Air. "3 days before my best friend tried to kill me, he bought me tacos. Not expensive ones either. Cheap food truck tacos from a parking lot beside a gas station off Interstate 85. I remember that detail because he complained the whole time about the onions. Said onions were an assassin's worst enemy. At the time, I laughed. I thought he was joking. Now I know he wasn't. His name was Damien Cross. We met when we were 12 years old after I got jumped outside Roosevelt Middle School in Charlotte, North Carolina. 3 older kids cornered me behind the gym over some stupid rumor involving stolen AirPods. I still remember laying on the pavement trying not to cry while one of them kicked me in the ribs. Then Damien showed up. Quiet kid, black hoodie, hands in his pockets. He looked at the 3 boys and calmly asked, "You done?" Something about the way he said it made all 3 of them nervous immediately. One of them tried shoving him. Damien broke the kid's arm so fast I genuinely didn't understand what happened. 1 second the kid was yelling. The next, he was screaming on the concrete, holding his elbow backwards. The other 2 ran instantly. Damien looked down at me afterward. "You okay?" That was it. That was how we became friends. Looking back now, there were signs, hundreds of them. But when someone grows up beside you, your brain stops questioning the weird things about them. You normalize it. Damien never had social media, never took pictures, never let people inside his house. Nobody had ever met his parents. Teachers were scared of him without understanding why. He disappeared for days sometimes, then came back like nothing happened. And Damien noticed things normal people don't notice. He always knew when someone was carrying a weapon, always sat facing exits, always checked mirrors and windows. Whenever we went somewhere crowded, he'd quietly point out who the threat would be if something happened. That guy first. Lady near the ATM second. Man in the grey hat has a gun. Every single time. He was right. I thought he was paranoid. Truth was, Damien had simply spent his entire life being hunted and trained. The night everything changed started with a phone call. Damien called me at 2:13 a.m. "Lock your doors." I laughed, half asleep. "What?" "Listen carefully," he said. His voice sounded wrong, not scared. Damien never sounded scared, but focused, like he was already in the middle of something terrible. "You need to leave your apartment now." "What are you talking about?" "You got 10 minutes before they enter the building." Cold silence filled my room. Then I heard something in the background on his end. Gunfire. Far away. Then tires screeching. My stomach dropped. "Damien, they know where you are. Who knows where I am?" Another pause. Then he finally said the sentence that destroyed my life. "The people I work for." I thought it was a joke until my apartment lights went out. Every single one. The entire building fell dark. Outside my bedroom window, I saw men stepping out of 2 black SUVs. Not police, not robbers. Something worse. They moved with military precision. Body armor, silenced rifles. One of them looked directly toward my window like he already knew where I was standing. Then my phone buzzed again. "Damien, run." I barely made it out alive. I escaped through the fire exit while those men entered my apartment from the front. I heard suppressed gunshots upstairs, furniture breaking, glass shattering. They were shooting my bedroom apart while I sprinted into the alley behind the complex, wearing basketball shorts and one shoe. Damien found me 20 minutes later beneath an abandoned overpass outside Charlotte. Black Dodge Charger, engine running, passenger door open. "Get in." I stared at him. Rain poured through the orange streetlights while my entire body shook. Damien looked exhausted, bruised, blood on his sleeve, not his blood. What the hell is happening? He finally looked me dead in the eyes, and for the first time in my life, I saw guilt on his face. "I was supposed to kill you 6 years ago, Sam." The silence after that sentence felt unreal, like my brain physically refused to process the words. Damien kept driving, hands tight on the steering wheel. "You remember your father disappearing?" My throat tightened immediately. Of course I remembered. My dad vanished when I was 16. No explanation. Police never found anything. Damien swallowed slowly. "He stole something from the organization I work for." "What organization?" He ignored the question. "They sent me to watch your family until they recovered it." "You're insane." I was 13. That hit me harder than everything else. 13. He'd been a child too. "They trained me young," he continued quietly. "I was supposed to get close to you, gain trust, wait for orders." I felt sick. Every memory suddenly looked different in my head. Sleepovers, birthdays, graduation, road trips. My best friend had entered my life because someone paid him to. "But you didn't kill me." Damien looked ahead silently. Then, "You were nice to me." That answer terrified me more than anything, because he meant it. Over the next few hours, Damien told me the truth. Not all of it, probably never all of it, but enough. The organization operated like a private intelligence network mixed with contract assassins. Politicians, executives, disappearances, cover-ups. People vanished constantly. Damien had been raised inside it after being orphaned young, conditioned into becoming what they needed. And apparently, my father stole something important before he disappeared. Something they still believed our family had. So why come after me now? Damien reached into his jacket slowly, then handed me a photograph. My blood froze instantly. It was me. Taken earlier that week, walking into a grocery store. Across the photo, someone had written, "Authorized termination." Damien spoke softly. They gave the contract to somebody else. That was the moment I realized something horrifying. Damien wasn't hunting me anymore. He was protecting me from people exactly like him. For the next 4 days, we ran non-stop across North Carolina. Motels, back roads, stolen cars, burner phones, and the entire time, I noticed things about Damien I never had before. He barely slept, checked rooftops constantly, kept touching the scar near his ribs whenever stressed. Sometimes he'd go completely silent for hours like he was listening to something far away. And every now and then, I'd catch him staring at me sadly, like he already knew how this would end. On the 5th night, we stopped at an abandoned lake house deep in the mountains. Damien boarded the windows himself, checked every room twice, then finally sat across from me in the dark. Only the television static lit the room. You should hate me. I honestly didn't know if I did. Part of me wanted to punch him. Another part remembered he'd saved my life over and over since childhood. "How many people have you killed?" Damien didn't answer immediately. Then quietly, "Enough." I stared at him. "You ever feel bad about it?" For the first time since I'd known him, Damien looked genuinely tired. "Every day." At 1:17 a.m., the motion lights outside turned on. Damien immediately stood up. No panic, no hesitation, just acceptance. Then he looked at me and said, "When I tell you to run, don't look back this time." A red laser suddenly appeared on the wall beside my head. Then another, then 6 more. Damien shoved me behind the couch as the windows exploded inward with gunfire. The entire cabin erupted into chaos. Wood splintered, bullets ripped through the walls. The television burst into sparks beside us. Damien fired back instantly. 3 controlled shots. Pop, pop, pop. One of the figures outside dropped immediately, but there were too many of them. I crawled across the floor, gasping while glass rained over my back. Then I heard something I'd never heard before. Damien screaming. Not in fear, in pain. I turned just long enough to see blood explode across his shoulder as another round punched through him. "Run!" he roared. The front door burst open. Men in black tactical gear flooded inside like shadows. Night vision goggles. Silenced rifles. No faces, no voices, just death. Damien grabbed one attacker and slammed a knife into his throat so violently blood sprayed across the ceiling. Another operative raised his rifle. Damien shot him point blank through the visor. The room flashed with muzzle fire. Bodies dropped, but they kept coming. I stumbled toward the back hallway while Damien held them off alone. Then suddenly everything went silent. No gunshots, no yelling, just ringing in my ears. I looked back and saw Damien standing in the middle of the destroyed cabin, breathing heavily. Blood soaked his hoodie. 3 bodies surrounded him. Then another man stepped from the darkness near the staircase. Tall, grey suit. No weapon visible. Older than the others. Calm. The moment Damien saw him, his face changed completely. Fear. Real fear. The older man sighed disappointedly. "You were our greatest asset." Damien slowly lowered his gun. "Don't do this." The man ignored him and looked directly at me. "Your father should have kept his mouth shut, Sam." Before I could react, Damien fired first. The older man moved unbelievably fast. A single suppressed gunshot echoed through the cabin. Damien froze, then slowly looked down. Blood spread across his chest. My stomach dropped. "No!" Damien staggered backward slightly, still trying to raise his gun. The older man shot him again, and again. Damien collapsed beside the couch where we'd been sitting minutes earlier. The older man calmly stepped over the bodies toward me. Then Damien grabbed his ankle from the floor. Even dying. He was still fighting. The man looked irritated for the first time. Damien looked at me one final time, blood running from his mouth, and quietly said, "Run, Sam." Then he pulled a grenade pin from inside his jacket. The explosion swallowed the cabin whole. The blast threw me through the back door and into the freezing rain outside. I don't even remember hitting the ground. 1 second I was running. The next, I was face down in mud, unable to hear anything except a high ringing sound inside my skull. Behind me, the cabin burned. Orange flames tore through the trees while black smoke spiraled into the mountains. I remember screaming Damien's name, over and over. But deep down, I already knew nobody could have survived that explosion. Police found me wandering along a highway nearly 6 hours later. Barefoot, covered in blood, half deaf from the blast. I tried explaining what happened. The organization, the assassins, Damien, everything. The officers exchanged that look people give you when they think trauma has broken your brain. Then things got stranger. because when investigators searched the cabin ruins, they found almost nothing. No tactical gear, no rifles, no bodies, no evidence Damien Cross had ever existed. That part destroyed me more than his death, because suddenly it felt like my entire life had been erased. My old school had no records for Damien. Yearbooks gone, photos corrupted or missing. Even online posts mentioning him had disappeared. It was like someone had reached backward through time and carefully cut him out of reality. When I tried showing detectives old pictures of us together, Damien's face was always blurred, every single time, like the camera physically refused to capture him correctly. 3 weeks later, I returned to Charlotte, or at least I tried to. My apartment had been professionally cleaned, repaired, repainted. Management claimed no shooting ever occurred. One woman even smiled nervously and asked if I was still having those episodes. That word chilled me. Episodes. As if someone had already prepared a narrative for me. I stopped sleeping after that. Every parked car looked suspicious. Every unknown number made my heart race. And sometimes, late at night, I'd catch myself looking for Damien automatically, like he might still appear beside me somehow. I hated him. I missed him. I didn't know which feeling was worse. Then came the package. No return address. Delivered at exactly 3:04 a.m. The box contained 3 things: a burner phone, a photograph, and a key. The photograph nearly stopped my heart. It was me and Damien sitting outside a Waffle House when we were teenagers. One of the only surviving photos of him. On the back, written in Damien's handwriting, "You were the only real thing in my life." My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. Then the burner phone rang. I stared at it for nearly 30 seconds before answering. Static crackled softly on the other end. Then a woman spoke. "You're being watched." My blood turned cold instantly. "Who is this?" "They know about the package." The woman sounded nervous, like she was whispering somewhere she wasn't supposed to be. "You need to leave now." "Who are you?" A pause, then, "I worked with Damien." My stomach dropped. "He died." Another long silence. Finally she whispered, "That's what they want you to believe." The line disconnected. Outside my apartment window, a black SUV slowly rolled past. Then another and another, all with their headlights off. I grabbed the key and ran. The key led to a storage unit outside Asheville. Unit 237. The place smelled like dust and mildew. At first it looked empty. Then I noticed the false wall. Hidden behind it was a room Damien had apparently built years ago. Inside were weapons, passports, stacks of cash, maps, surveillance photos, and dozens of files. All labeled with names: politicians, journalists, police chiefs, corporate executives. Some had red X's through them, others said, "pending." Then I found the final file. Mine. Inside was a photograph of me sleeping in my apartment taken only 2 weeks earlier. Below it read, "Subject unaware of inheritance." My chest tightened. Inheritance? Beneath that was another note in Damien's handwriting. "If you're reading this, they finally came for us. Us, not you. Us. There's something your father hid before they killed him. Something powerful enough that they spent 20 years murdering people to recover it. And now, they think you know where it is." I flipped through the folder frantically until a small folded map slipped onto the floor. A location circled in red, deep in the mountains near the Tennessee border, and written beneath it, "Don't trust anyone, especially her. The lights inside the storage unit suddenly shut off. Complete darkness swallowed the room. Then I heard footsteps outside. Slow, measured, crunching gravel. A flashlight beam slid beneath the storage door. Then a woman's voice called softly from outside. "Sam?" The same voice from the phone. "I'm here to help you." I stared at Damien's warning in my trembling hands, especially her. Then the flashlight beam stopped moving, and the woman outside quietly said, "Damien told me you wouldn't trust me." The flashlight beam remained fixed beneath the storage unit door. Rain tapped softly against the metal roof overhead. I tightened my grip on the pistol Damien left behind. Every instinct screamed not to trust her, but another part of me kept replaying the last line in Damien's note, especially her. Not, "Don't trust her," especially her. Like maybe she mattered more than the others. The woman outside spoke again. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead." Her voice sounded exhausted, not threatening, just tired, carefully, slowly. I unlocked the storage door. The woman standing outside looked to be in her early 30s. Dark coat, rain-soaked hair, small scar beneath her left eye. And the moment she saw the room behind me, her expression broke slightly. "You found his safe house. You knew Damien?" She looked at me for a long moment, then quietly said, "I knew him better than anyone." Her name was Lena Mercer, former operative, former assassin, former everything, at least according to her. She stepped inside carefully while I kept the gun trained on her chest. Her eyes moved across the files scattered around the room, then stopped on the photograph of Damien and me. For the first time, she smiled. "He kept that? You're telling me he actually cared about people?" The smile disappeared immediately. "You don't survive in that organization if you care about people." I almost laughed at that, because she was wrong. Damien cared too much. That was the problem. Lena explained things slowly over the next hour. The organization called itself The Quiet. Not publicly, never officially. But internally that's what operatives called it. The Quiet didn't just kill people, it controlled information. Governments, corporations, disappearances, assassinations disguised as suicides. Entire lives erased with paperwork and silence. Damien was one of their best, Lena admitted quietly. Maybe the best they ever trained. Something about hearing that hurt. Because to me, he'd just been Damien. The guy who stole fries off my plate. The guy who made fun of horror movies while secretly getting scared easiest. The guy who once drove 4 hours because I called him after a breakup. Now, every memory felt poisoned. Lena noticed my expression. "You still love him." "I don't even know who he was." "Yes, you do." That answer hit harder than I expected. Around dawn, she finally told me the truth about my father. Or at least part of it. Years ago, my father worked as a financial analyst for a defense contractor secretly tied to The Quiet, while auditing hidden accounts. He discovered something horrifying. The Quiet had been orchestrating political assassinations and mass casualty events for decades. Not for ideology, not for war, for profit. Entire disasters manipulated behind the scenes. Plane crashes, bombings, economic collapses. Every tragedy generated money somewhere. And The Quiet always positioned itself to benefit. My father copied evidence before they caught him. Names, transactions, operation files. Enough to destroy powerful people worldwide. He hid it before they found him, Lena said. Where? That's the problem. Nobody knew, not even Damien. So they killed him. Lena looked away. No. That single word froze my blood. What do you mean, no? He escaped. The room went silent. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. No. That's impossible. They wanted you to believe he died, she continued quietly. It kept you controllable. I felt physically dizzy. My father had been alive this whole time. Then why never contact me? Why disappear? Unless he was protecting me. Lena nodded slowly. The quiet kills entire bloodlines when threatened. My stomach twisted. Everything suddenly made horrible sense. Then Lena revealed the part Damien never got to tell me. The inheritance wasn't money, wasn't evidence, wasn't some hidden bank account. It was a memory. When I was 7 years old, I witnessed something I was never supposed to see. An execution, not a random murder, a sanctioned, quiet execution involving politicians and government officials. My father panicked afterward and fled with me before. The quiet realized what I'd seen, but the trauma fractured my memory. I forgot most of it naturally over time. The quiet believed the missing evidence was hidden inside my head, which was why they'd monitored me my entire life. Waiting, watching, preparing to kill me if the memory ever resurfaced. I stared at Lena, speechless, then quietly asked, "So Damien was assigned to watch me because of a childhood memory?" Lena looked directly at me. No. A cold feeling crawled up my spine. He was assigned to kill you if the memory returned. The room suddenly felt too small to breathe in. All those years, all those memories, and somewhere in the back of Damien's mind, he'd always known he might eventually have to murder me. "How do you know all this?" "Because I trained with him." She hesitated, then finally said, "And because he loved you enough to betray all of us." Silence. Rain continued hitting the roof overhead. Then the lights flickered once. Lena instantly went still. Every ounce of calm vanished from her face. "What?" She slowly pulled a handgun from her coat. "We need to leave." "Why?" She looked toward the storage door, terrified, because outside I suddenly heard dozens of footsteps crunching across the gravel. Not rushing, walking, slowly, patiently, like they already knew there was nowhere left to run. Then a distorted voice echoed from outside the storage unit. "Sam McKhaney." My blood froze. "We know you're inside," Lena whispered. "They found us too fast." Then the voice outside calmly added, "Damien Cross is still alive." Silence. Then, "And he told us where to find you." No. The word came out of my mouth automatically, instantly, because despite everything, despite the lies, the killings, the secrets, I knew Damien would never betray me. Lena didn't look convinced. Her face had gone pale. The quiet knows how to break people. Outside, more footsteps surrounded the storage unit. Metal scraped softly somewhere nearby. They were sealing exits, preparing, hunting. The distorted voice returned through the darkness. "You have 1 minute to surrender." Lena grabbed my arm hard. That voice, "What about it?" Her expression tightened. "That's Shepard." "Who?" "The man who trained Damien." Cold dread settled into my chest. The older man from the cabin, the one Damien looked afraid of. I suddenly understood why. Lena pulled me toward the back wall of the safe house. "There's another exit." "How do you know?" "Because I built this place with him." Something about the way she said his name told me everything. She loved him too. Maybe once, maybe still. We shoved aside metal shelves until a narrow hatch appeared beneath the floor. Outside, the voice calmly counted down. 30 seconds. Lena dropped into the tunnel first. I followed immediately. The hatch closed above us just as something heavy slammed into the storage unit door. Then came gunfire, muted through dirt and concrete overhead. The tunnel stretched beneath the facility like an old storm drain, pitch black except for Lena's flashlight. We ran through ankle-deep water while explosions thundered somewhere behind us. "How are they finding us?" I shouted. Lena didn't answer immediately, which terrified me more than if she had. Finally, because somebody's helping them. The tunnel exited nearly half a mile into the woods behind the storage facility. Rain hammered the trees. Fog rolled between the mountains. Lena led me toward an old pickup truck hidden beneath camouflage netting. The moment the engine started, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Lena immediately yelled, "Don't answer it!" But I already had. Static filled the speaker. Then, Damien's voice. My entire body froze. "Sam?" Weak, breathing hard, alive. "Damien!" Lena slammed the brakes. "What did you hear?" I ignored her completely. "Where are you?" Heavy coughing came through the phone. Then Damien whispered, "They lied to you." Gunshots exploded somewhere near him. Metal clanged loudly. He sounded like he was running. "Damien, what's happening?" His voice cracked painfully. "She works for Shepard." I slowly turned toward Lena. Her face went completely emotionless. The phone line suddenly distorted. Then Damien shouted something I barely heard through the static. "Get away from—" The call disconnected. Silence. Only rain hitting the windshield. Lena stared ahead at the dark road. Neither of us moved. Then quietly, without looking at me, she said, "You should have listened to him." The gun appeared in her hand so fast I barely reacted. She pointed it directly at my chest. Not angry, not emotional, just cold professionalism. The same look Damien used to get whenever danger appeared. My stomach dropped. Everything Damien warned me about suddenly crashed together all at once. The quick tracking, the perfectly timed rescues, the way she always knew where to go. She'd never been running from the quiet. She'd been guiding me exactly where they wanted me. "You were lying the whole time." Not the whole time. Rain streaked down the windshield while the engine idled softly. Lena finally looked at me, and somehow, she actually looked guilty. I did care about Damien. Then why betray him? Her jaw tightened. Because Damien made the same mistake you did. What mistake? He believed people like us deserve redemption. The words hit harder than the gun. Because now I understood something terrifying. Lena didn't think she was evil. She thought she was practical. Headlights suddenly appeared behind us through the rain. Black SUVs emerging from the fog. Lena noticed them immediately. Something changed in her expression. Confusion, then fear. "That's too fast." The SUVs accelerated. Fast. Way too fast. Lena cursed under her breath. "They weren't supposed to kill you yet." "What?" Then the first bullet shattered the rear windshield. Lena swerved violently as gunfire erupted behind us. The quiet wasn't here for recovery anymore. They were here for cleanup. And suddenly, Lena realized she was disposable too. The truck fishtailed across the wet mountain road while rounds tore through the body panels. Lena fired one-handed through the broken rear window. An SUV clipped our bumper hard enough to nearly send us into the ravine below. I grabbed the steering wheel instinctively as Lena shouted directions. More gunfire, glass exploding, metal screaming. Then a motorcycle burst from the trees ahead. Black helmet, black jacket, moving impossibly fast through the rain. The rider pulled alongside the SUVs and threw something beneath the lead vehicle. Explosion. The entire mountainside lit orange. The first SUV flipped violently into the guardrail. The second swerved off the road into the forest below. The motorcycle accelerated toward us. The rider looked directly through the shattered passenger window, and for one split second, I saw his eyes. My heart stopped. Damien. Alive. Lena looked horrified. No. The motorcycle slammed sideways into our truck intentionally. The impact forced us to spin across the road. Before I could react, Damien ripped open the passenger door and dragged me out into the rain. Run! Gunfire erupted behind us again. Damien shoved a handgun into my hands while blood soaked through bandages beneath his jacket. He looked awful, pale, barely standing, but alive. How are you? No time. Lena climbed from the wrecked truck holding her gun shakily. For a moment, nobody moved. Rain poured around us. Damien stared at her heartbreakingly. Not hatred, not rage, just disappointment. Lena looked like she might cry. You survived, Damien answered quietly. You should have let me die. Rain poured across the mountain road while the three of us stood frozen in the headlights of the wrecked truck. Damien looked barely alive. Blood soaked through the bandages beneath his jacket. His breathing sounded wet, painful, but his eyes stayed locked on Lena. You sold us out. Lena's gun trembled slightly in her hand. I was trying to save you. Damien almost laughed at that. No, you were trying to survive. For a second, neither of them looked like assassins. They looked tired, like two people who'd spent their entire lives drowning. More headlights appeared deeper down the mountain road. The quiet was coming. Again. Damien grabbed my arm immediately. We move now. Lena stepped forward desperately. Damien, listen to me. No. The way he said it completely hollowed her out. Not angry. Worse. Done. We escaped through the forest on foot while gunfire echoed somewhere behind us. Damien moved fast despite his injuries. Too fast. Like pain didn't matter anymore. At dawn, we reached an abandoned firewatch tower overlooking miles of fog-covered mountains. The place smelled like wet wood and rust. Damien locked the door behind us, then finally collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Blood spread beneath him immediately. Jesus Christ! I rushed toward him, but he grabbed my wrist. Listen carefully. You need a hospital. No hospitals. His voice sharpened instantly. They own hospitals. That answer chilled me more than the blood did. For the next hour, nobody spoke much. Rain hammered the tower windows while fog rolled through the trees below. Damien sat against the wall, reloading weapons mechanically, like muscle memory was the only thing keeping him conscious. I finally asked the question that had been eating me alive. What memory are they trying to kill me over? Damien stopped moving. Silence filled the room. Then quietly, you were never supposed to remember that night. That's not an answer. His jaw tightened. I know. I stared at him. You owe me the truth. For the first time since I'd known him. Damien looked afraid to speak, not scared of the quiet, scared of me knowing. When you were 7, he began quietly, your father took you with him to a meeting. A meeting? He didn't know it was a quiet gathering. The room suddenly felt colder. Damien continued carefully. There were politicians there, military officials, executives, people who publicly hated each other sitting at the same table. Something about that image made my skin crawl. What were they doing? Damien looked away. Watching. Watching what? He swallowed hard, then finally answered, training. I felt sick instantly. No. Damien nodded once. The quiet recruits children young, easier to condition, easier to erase. Images started flickering weakly in the back of my mind. Flashes, cold floors, bright lights, someone crying. My head suddenly pounded. Damien noticed immediately. Don't force it. But it was already happening. Fragments were coming back. A massive room underground, rows of chairs, men in suits, children standing against a wall, and blood. So much blood. I stumbled backward, breathing hard. Oh my God. Damien closed his eyes, because he already knew. Then I remembered him. Not the Damien I knew, not my best friend, a smaller version, maybe 10 years old. Standing in the middle of the room, covered in blood while adults applauded. My stomach twisted violently. No! I saw it clearer now. A terrified boy had tried to run. The adults watched calmly. Then young Damien caught him, and I suddenly doubled over, vomiting onto the wooden floor. The memory hit like a truck. The screaming, the knife, the applause afterward. And Damien, just standing there, emotionless while blood dripped from his hands. The tower went completely silent except for rain outside. I couldn't even look at him. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get away from him forever. Because the thing I remembered wasn't human. It was a child turned into something monstrous. Damien spoke softly behind me. I tried to stop after that. I started laughing weakly. Not because it was funny, because my brain couldn't process anything anymore. You killed a kid. I know. You were a kid too. I know. The outburst shocked both of us. Because Damien almost never raised his voice. He looked shattered, like he'd been carrying that moment his entire life. They made us do things, he whispered. If we refused, they punished the others. His breathing shook badly now. There were rooms underground, children disappearing, conditioning, drugs, recordings. He stopped talking, like even now he physically couldn't say everything. Then quietly, "You were never supposed to see me there." I stared at him for a long time, trying to reconcile the monster from my memory with the person who spent half his fries stealing mine. The person who protected me, saved me, risked everything for me. And somehow, that made it worse, because I realized both versions were real. Then Damien said something that made my blood run cold. They weren't just training assassins. I looked up slowly. What do you mean? His expression darkened. The quiet was building replacements. The tower creaked softly in the storm. Damien stared directly at me now, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in his eyes. Sam, you were one of the children they selected. The words didn't even register at first. I just stared at him. Rain battered the tower windows. The floor creaked softly beneath the wind, and Damien looked at me like he was waiting for me to hate him. You're lying. I wish I was. No. I backed away from him instinctively. No, you're trying to mess with my head. Damien slowly pulled something from inside his jacket. A photograph. Old. Bent at the corners. He handed it to me carefully. The second I saw it, my knees nearly gave out. It was a group photo. 6 children standing in a concrete room beneath fluorescent lights. Some looked terrified. Some looked empty. And standing near the back was Damien. Younger, emotionless, covered in bruises. Then I saw myself, 7 years old, standing beside him. My entire body went cold. No, the memory slammed into me so hard I almost blacked out. Hands grabbing me. A voice saying, "This one adapts quickly." Doctors, needles, bright lights. A man kneeling in front of me, smiling calmly, while bodies covered in sheets lined the walls behind him. Children survive conditioning better than adults. I dropped the photo immediately. Breathing became impossible. They took me. Damien nodded slowly. Your father got you out before the process finished. Fragments returned faster now, tests, rooms underground, watching videos over and over until my head hurt. Being taught how to identify threats, how to spot weapons, how to suppress fear. And suddenly, everything about my life made horrifying sense. The paranoia, the instincts, the constant feeling something was wrong. I wasn't normal either. You remembered more than they expected, Damien said quietly. That's why they accelerated the kill order. I looked at him horrified. You knew this whole time? Yes. And you still stayed around me? His expression cracked slightly. I tried to protect what was left of you. That line hurt more than anything else he'd said, because buried underneath it was the implication that part of me was already gone. Suddenly, the radio sitting near the tower window crackled to life on its own. Static flooded the room. Damien instantly grabbed his gun. Then a calm, familiar voice emerged through the distortion. Good evening, Damien. Shepard. Damien's face hardened immediately. The voice continued casually. You always were sentimental. I warned them it would become a weakness. Damien stepped towards the radio slowly. What do you want? A soft chuckle answered him. You know what I want. Silence. Then Shepard calmly said, the boy. My stomach tightened. Not Sam, not him. The boy. Like I wasn't even a person, just unfinished property. Damien's grip tightened around the gun. He's not yours anymore. That's where you're mistaken, Shepard replied. He was ours long before you met him. Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. Then came the sentence that truly shattered me. You were designed for this, Sam. The tower suddenly felt freezing cold. Shepard continued. Your father believed he could erase what we built inside you. But conditioning doesn't disappear, it waits. My heartbeat started accelerating uncontrollably, because deep down, some part of me already knew he was right. You feel it already, don't you? Shepard asked calmly. The pattern recognition, the hypervigilance, the instinct to survive. Images flashed rapidly through my head. Every crowded room I'd unconsciously mapped exits in. Every time I noticed danger before anyone else. Every feeling I thought was anxiety. No. Training. Shepard, shut up, Damien warned. But Shepard ignored him. You know why Damien became attached to you? Silence. Then, because you were the only child who ever fought the conditioning. Damien's expression changed instantly. Fear. Real fear. Shepard, you were supposed to become another operative, another weapon, but instead, the radio crackled softly. You cried when they hurt him. The memory hit me immediately. Young Damien kneeling on the floor bleeding while men screamed at him to stand. And me, small, terrified me, trying to help him up. One of the handlers striking me across the face for it, then Damien attacking the handler afterward. That was the moment everything changed. Not friendship, recognition. Two broken children seeing each other as human. The radio hissed again. You corrupted each other, Shepard said coldly, and now look what sentiment has accomplished. Damien suddenly fired directly into the radio. The tower exploded with static and sparks. Silence returned instantly. But the damage was done. Because now I understood the horrifying truth. Damien hadn't just been assigned to watch me. We had both belonged to the quiet once, and somehow my father stole me back. I sat down slowly against the wall, trying not to panic. Everything felt unreal, like my identity had just been ripped apart. What happens now? Damien looked exhausted, older somehow. They won't stop. Then what do we do? For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then quietly, we disappear. Outside the tower windows, fog rolled endlessly through the mountains. No police, no safety, no normal life waiting for us anymore, just running. Forever. Then Damien suddenly froze. His eyes shifted toward the woods below. Every muscle in his body tightened instantly. I felt it too. That horrible instinctive certainty that danger was close. Movement, far below the tower. Flashlights, dozens of them, slowly surrounding the mountain. Damien looked at me one final time and softly said, "They found us." Hope you enjoyed another dark story from Dead Air. But before you disappear into the dark, we have a question for you. What's the creepiest thing you've ever experienced while camping? Maybe you heard footsteps circling your tent, even though everyone else was asleep. Maybe you saw lights moving through the trees, where there shouldn't have been anyone. Maybe something kept calling your name from somewhere beyond the firelight. Or maybe you woke up in the middle of the night and realized the woods had gone completely silent. Tell us your story down in the comments, because there's something unsettling about the wilderness. Once the campfire dies, the darkness belongs to everything else. Every snapping twig, every distant howl, every shadow between the trees. Makes you wonder if you're really alone. Who knows? Your experience might inspire a future tape here on VHS After Midnight. Until next time. If something outside your tent asks you to come out, make sure you know who's calling.